of hormone from blood. You see, two things are there. One is that, depends, the level of the hormone in the blood depends upon the two things. First thing, that the rate of formation of hormone, जो भी होगा, any hormone, depend upon the amount of the hormone in the blood depends upon two things. One is the rate of formation of the hormone, and the second is the clearance of the hormone from the blood. The metabolic clearance of hormones. So now, if the production is more, really the level of the hormone in the blood is more. If metabolic clearance is more, then again you see the level of the hormone becomes less and less. So the metabolic clearance rate is equal to metabolic clearance rate is equal to the rate of clearance of the hormone from plasma, over the concentration of hormone, consider the hormone in plasma. So means that, so they are nanogram per minutes, and this is the nanogram per ml of blood, yeah, plasma. So the metabolic clearance rate of the hormone, you see, is equal to the rate of clearance of the rate of disappearance or the rate of clearance of the hormone from the plasma, that is nanogram per minute के हिसाब से, and then over the concentration of the hormone in the plasma, that is nanogram per ml of the hormone in the blood. Now we know that if you want to know the clearance of subhormone, any hormone in the blood, take the standardized type of the hormone and take it to some radioactive substance. Any hormone, you take that from, any hormone you want to know, okay, what is the metabolic clearance of that hormone, you have to take this hormone with some radioactive substance. That is, you have to take it with some radioactive substance, and then you infuse it to the, infuse it with a constant rate to that person or animal. See, now a stage reaches when there is a steady stage is reached when the rate of metabolic disappearance equals to the concentration in the plasma. So now in this way, once we will infuse it to the animal, to infuse it at a constant rate to animal or human being, then you see क्या होगा कि a constant rate, the stage will reach when there is a equilibrium rate, that is the rate of clearance or disappearance of the hormone from plasma, and the concentration of the hormone in the plasma become क्या steady level पहुंच जाएगा. So this gives us the rate of clearance, and also at the same time the concentration of the plasma in the blood also. So to know the concentration of the hormone, we have we can find it by the क्या है कि we will take it the standard radioactive counting procedure through the standard radioactive counting procedures, we can find out the level of the hormone in the plasma. So in this way we can easily calculate the metabolic clearance of that particular hormone in the blood or in the plasma. Now we know that the metabolic clearance can take place in different ways. First is that disappearance or destruction of the hormone at the while it combines with the receptors. Second is that then when these hormones combine with the tissues there inside to the cells. And the third thing is that while the liver the जो हमारी जो clearance of that hormone by the liver into the bile, and the clearance of the hormone by the kidney in the urine. So in this way we can easily calculate excretion of liver into the excretion by the liver into the bile and excretion by the kidney into the urine. So in this way we can so in these are the 4 different ways by which the plasma is cleared from the plasma, from the blood, you can say. So in this way, you see, now we can easily understand it. Now we know that if there is any disease of the liver or the kidney, then naturally the liver cannot clear it into the bile, and also the kidney does not excrete it from the blood, so their concentration in the blood rises. So before we check the level of the hormone in any person, we have to know whether the liver is functioning normally, the kidneys are functioning normally or not. So this is the way that we should easily. Now the hormones present in the blood can be cleared. There are certain enzymes present in the blood which degrade or destroy these hormones in the blood, and then it's the function of the liver to excrete in the bile or the function of the kidney to excrete to the urine. Similarly, like if you give the example that angiotensin 2 is the hormone which is in the blood only for 1 minute. So means that after 1 minute, once the angiotensin 2 is formed, it is metabolized or it is disappeared in the blood within a minute, while the hormones which are tagged or which are combining with the plasma protein, their half-life is always more than than if we compare to these other hormones. Similarly, if you give you the example, the steroid hormones of the adrenal, like cortisol, you see cortisol bind with the plasma protein, their half-life is from 20 minutes से लेके cortisol, जब ये प्रोटीन के साथ जो है पैक्ड होता है, their half-life is from 20 minutes से लेके to 100 minutes तक can be remain in the blood. Half-life is 20 minutes से लेके 100 minutes है. Similarly, if suppose there are thyroxine, if it is bound with the protein, plasma protein, their half-life is equal to 1 to 6 days. So this shows that the cortisol, when combined with the plasma proteins, the thyroxine which combined with the plasma protein, their half-life increases. Like in case of the cortisol, it becomes 20 minutes to 100 minutes, and in case of thyroxine, while they bind with the plasma protein, their half-life is from 1 to 6 days. So in this way, we can the half-life increases. Any hormone, when they combine with the plasma protein, their half-life also increases. Now, mechanism of the hormone action. Mechanism of the hormone action depends. The mechanism of hormone action. So now the mechanism of the hormone action is that of the hormone, the mechanism of hormone action, you see, always depends upon कोई भी cell होगा, in these cells, first the hormone, any hormone when they come, they have to combine with their receptors, which is present either in the cell wall or in the some other hormone has got receptors in the cytoplasm, while the other hormones, they have got receptors, they have receptors over the DNA in the nucleus of that hormone. So means that the hormones, they are very specific in action. If you give the example of ACTH, ACTH releases from the anterior pituitary, comes to the blood, circulate throughout the body, but they will act there where the receptors lies. Like, for the ACTH, the receptors lies in the zona fasciculata of the, mostly in the zona fasciculata cells of the zona fasciculata of the adrenal cortex. So they will go because their receptors lies there, so they will go and act there. Similarly, any other hormones which has got, which come into circulation, they will act there where their receptors lie. Different hormones has got different receptors. Now, as I told you, the receptors, may be present on the cell membrane, may be present in the cytoplasm, may be present in the nucleus of the DNA. As far as the hormones which are on the surface are like anterior and posterior pituitary gland, and also pancreatic hormones, and also parathyroid hormones. So these hormones, they are mostly protein and polypeptides in nature, peptones. So they have got receptor on the cell wall. You see, normally you should know that, or the total number of these hormones may be from 20,000 से लेके 2,000 से लेके 1,00,000 receptors होती है per cell के ऊपर. In one cell, the number of the receptors varies from 2,000 से लेके 1,00,000 2000 से लेके 1,00,000 तक जो है एक सेल के ऊपर this much receptors are present here, and these receptors may be over the cell membrane, may be in the cytoplasm. अगर उसको फर्ज करें कोई उसके अंदर है तो cytoplasm में all the steroid hormones. So all the steroid, like aldosterone, like cortisol, like androgens, like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, they all has got receptors inside the cell, that is in the cytoplasm. While other types of the hormones which are present, they which has got receptors inside the cell, like क्या है? Thyroid hormone, T3, T4. T3, T4 has got receptors. They can come and enter into the cell membrane, and then can enter into the nucleus, and there, because as I told you, the thyroid hormone has got receptors over the thyroid gland, so they go and combine with the receptor in the nucleus. So now those hormones which are steroid nature, they are what they are can be easily, because steroid hormone can easily cross the cell membrane, lipid bilayer को easily can cross it, like it does not exist even. Similarly, the hormones which are protein and peptones and this, they cannot cross the lipid bilayer of the cell membrane. So their receptor always lies over the surface or over the surface of the cell membrane. So this is as far as the the type of the hormone. Now we know that the number of the hormones in the receptors hormones varies. Sometimes if it goes down, it is the number of the receptors goes. This is called down regulation. The down regulation of receptors. So down regulation receptors means that the number of the receptors present over the cell, they decreases. Now we know that the hormones once get combined, they can be destroyed while they can come and combine with the receptors or the cell wall, or some of the hormones in intracellular signaling system. Because they are destroyed, or the hormones which I told you that the receptors may be present in the cell wall. This is inactivation. Actually, inactivation can take place while they will combine with the receptors outside, or because most of the cells are their signaling systems intracellularly are present, so they can be they can be utilized, inactivated, or the hormones when come, they do not combine with the receptors, but somewhere else in the cell they will go and rest there, and again they are useless for the hormone action, or the lysosomes which are present there inside the cell, they will destroy the hormone. There's the receptors. So in the production of the receptors inside the cell may go down. So what I need to tell you is that there are like, so if I tell you, okay, number one, these inactivation of receptors wherever it is present here. Number two, the inactivation of intracellular signaling proteins. Signaling protein जो अंदर है सेल के अंदर, they are inactivated, or maybe sequestration, receptors sequestration, SEQ, sequestration. So means that receptor sequestration of these receptors means that the receptors normally, if they are present on the cell wall like that, the receptors, they may go somewhere else. They will be placed its original place and go somewhere else. So this is called receptor sequestration. So in that way also these receptors are useless. They cannot be combined with their function. If combined, their function is produced in that way. So number 4 is there I told you that lysosomes, which is present inside the cell. So they are activated and they destroy the receptors. Or the 5 is that formation of receptor inside the cell goes down. If the formation of, because all the cell is responsible for the formation of receptors in that particular cell. If the formation of the receptor goes down, means that the number of the cells. So now remember that this is the function of the hormone depends upon the number of the hormones. The more will be number of the hormones receptors, the more will be accepting. The less will be the receptors number in the cell wall. The cell wall or cytoplasm, the less will be its section in that. So the function of that hormone depends directly on the number of that particular receptors present in that particular cell. Now this is as far as the down regulation is concerned. Up regulation, as I told you, this is down regulation. Down regulation. This is down regulation. So now there are up regulation of receptors. Now in this way, two things are there. See, the intracellular machinery which is responsible for the formation of the proteins, they are responsible for the formation of receptors. If the formation of the receptors increase, formation of receptors go high, means that this is called upregulation, or the intracellular signaling, protein signaling system. If they increase, they also means that the upregulation of these receptors takes place. So the more will the formation of these receptors, the more will the activity in the cells. So this is the way that now we know that as far as the mechanism of the hormone cell, two things are there. First is that the intracellular signaling system. Intracellular signaling system. You see, the intracellular signaling system may be, if suppose there is a cell which has lipid bilayer, these are the lipid bilayers of these cells. Okay? So now a single part of type of the hormone which is present and they go inside the cell. Like you see, the receptors are there, their action carries on to the action in the side cells. Now the action of these, like if I give you the example of the synaptic, this is one, what do you call it, the nerve, and the second nerve is later on there. So in the synaptic cleft, these vesicles which are like acetylcholine, adrenaline, so once they are present there, they are released there, their receptors lies in the postsynaptic membrane. Postsynaptic membrane पे इनका receptors है. So now these hormones, their release is there, they will combine with it. Similarly, same thing is there. See, so single type of the hormone, when they enter there and they cause opens the channel for the for the calcium, for the sodium, for the chloride, potassium. So in this way, different ions are channels are open, or sometimes it close these channels, and then if they opens the channels, their activities. So either they can increase the activity in the next neuron or cell or muscle cell hoga jo bhi hoga, or they can decrease the activity. So this is a way that how now G protein linked hormone receptors. You see the G protein system, in this the receptors lies in the cell membrane, in long, this is a big molecular weight. The receptor is there, which is called G protein. In this G protein, the receptor side lies over the cell membrane, and this type of the G protein, these receptors, they loops 7 times going inside the the cell membrane and then going outside, and then inside, then again just going outside. So total 7 times this receptors going in and out in the side, in the cell membrane of the cell. So this type of the receptor, while the portion, the end, the tail of this receptors lying inside the cytoplasm, which is it is bound with the trimeric type of
portion of the G protein, and in this G protein, trimeric means there are 3 subunits of the these G protein. One is called alpha, the other is called beta, the third one is called the gamma. Subunits. So now once the cell is in inactive form, this G protein, this trimeric part of the G protein is attached with the GDP portion, and it is inactive. Now if the hormone comes and these hormone come and combines with its receptors over the cell membrane, then the message is passed, this enzyme system is activated, and ultimately the message is gone inside, and then the alpha portion of this trimeric part of the G protein separates. It separated from this G protein, and the beta and the gamma portion go and combine with the lower part of this inside, separated from the trimeric portion. Now this alpha portion, previously it was attached with the guanosine diphosphate. Now this guanosine diphosphate converted into guanosine triphosphate. Now this guanosine triphosphate and activated alpha portion of the G protein, they are now active, and now they can carry out the different the activities inside the cell. Like number one, ion channel calling receptors they can activate or inhibited, or adenyl cyclase system, the enzyme system which is present in the cell wall, that is the adenyl cyclase system को activate कर लेगा या inhibit करेगा, और the phospholipid portion इसको inhibit करेगा या activate कर जाएगा या इसको inhibit करेगा phospholipase जो lipid system है यहाँ पे cell membrane पे उसको भी active. Now this activity depends upon the type of this G protein. If the G protein is stimulatory in nature, this G protein this G protein, if it is S, it is written. So if it is stimulatory in portion, then all the activity enhances inside the cell. And when this G protein is attached with the G inhibitory portion, that is the the G, this is G protein inhibitory. So once it is stimulated by the hormone which comes there, then all the activity stops. No. Similarly, if the hormone comes there, they can carry all these functions inside this, and at the same time, once the hormone finishes, no more hormone, is present now, all the steps which was there, the reverse हो जाएगा. They will reverse that GTP again converts into GDP, and the activated alpha part of this G protein, they come and again combines with they will come and combine with these beta and gamma subunits. So this is the hormone, it is. So now you see the intracellular hormone mechanism. In the intracellular hormone mechanism, you see the portion of as I told you that the enzyme-linked hormone receptors, either there are single type, the two types of there. See the enzyme system which only once they enter into suppose this is lipid bilayer and this is the receptor portion, and they're going inside, the hormone come and combine with this, and then this is enzyme system is activated. This enzyme only once it goes inside एक ही दफा जो है ये going inside the cell. So only once they go inside the cell. Not like the G protein, which is this G protein, this is 7 times going in and out. But here in the enzyme link portion, only the once they are going, and then once they are going inside, then they activate the other portion of the cell. Again, it depends upon whether the enzyme system is can inhibit or can activate the further steps inside the cell membrane. Now, as we know that maybe they increase the ion channel ko ya jo protein synthesis hai, they can increase or decrease these ion channels etc. Now, as I told that in the G protein, actually once they come here and then activated this alpha cell, there are two types of the enzyme system. Okay, what do you call it? The portion of the G protein, once it is activated, then you see these activated hormone, once they come and combine with the receptor, they pass message to telemetry, and then ultimately the alpha subunit is separated, and then the GTP converted into GTP, and then now it has got they combine here the alpha subunit with the G protein. You see, they come and combine with their receptors in the enzyme system. This enzyme system, which is called adenyl cyclase system. एडेनाइल साइक्लेज सिस्टम को एक्टिवेट कर लेगा एंड देन नाउ दिस एडेनाइल साइक्लेज सिस्टम you know they converts ATP to cyclic AMP, उसको कैप में डिवाइड कर उसको कन्वर्ट कर जाएगा। जो एक्टिवेटिंग एस्टाइल जो एडेनाइल साइक्लेज सिस्टम को जब एक्टिवेट कर लिया दिस जी प्रोटीन, देन they convert the ATP into cyclic AMP. Now this cyclic AMP they can activate the inactive काइनेसिस को, प्रोटीन काइनेसिस, इनएक्टिव प्रोटीन काइनेसिस को एक्टिव प्रोटीन काइनेसिस में कन्वर्ट कर लेता है एंड नाउ दिस प्रोटीन इसको फास्फोराइलाइज कर जाएगा PO4 के साथ। नाउ दिस प्रोटीन phosphate which is phosphoreactive. Now further cell activity, cell response is produced by these new proteins which are forming there inside the cell. Now as I told you, this is the example of the second messenger. What is second messenger? Second messenger is the cyclic AMP. This cyclic AMP is the second messenger. क्या है? This is second messenger. So now this messenger, further inactive protein kinase को active protein kinase बन रहता है, and then they phosphorylate them, and then cell different types of the cells, the proteins are synthesized there, and then further activities is produced inside these cells. Now there are other type of the cyclic monophosphate भी है, and there is AMP, that is the HL जो हमारी जो वो natriuretic वो है protein peptones है, they can also act as a secondary. Other type of the second messengers, you see they are, that the other type of messengers in the cell membrane. Suppose I tell कि यहाँ पे lipid bilayer membrane है, so these are the lipid bilayer. Now you see क्या है कि inside the cell there are phospholipids. Phospholipids होती हैं सेल के अंदर. When the G protein, their receptors once they lie there, क्या होगा कि सेल के अंदर यहाँ पे receptors है, any hormone they come and combine with these receptors. Now the G protein is activated, and now this G protein converts these किसको, जो हमारी phospholipids हैं, that is the what do you call it, the phospho असल में जो है this is called the phosphatidyl inositol biphosphate. Phosphatidyl inositol. Now this type of the phosphate is called क्या है? The phosphatidyl inositol biphosphate. Now this type of the inositol biphosphate जो हमारी जो है इसकी inositol diphosphate जो है phosphatidyl inositol biphosphate lipids. Now this G activated G protein converts this type of the proteins into what? Into two things. One is called the inositol triphosphate and the other is diacyl glycerol. So in the cell membrane, once the hormone comes combines with the receptors, the G protein is activated, then the G protein activated portion, like I told you that in case cap, the G protein plus alpha, they act over the phospholipids present in the cell membrane, and these type of the phosphoprotein is the phosphatidyl inositol biphosphate. Now this inositol diphosphate converts into inositol triphosphate and diacylglycerol. Now this inositol triphosphate, this will in cell के अंदर जो हमारी mitochondria है, the mitochondria, they take out calcium from the mitochondria and bring it into the cell. Inside the cell, the calcium level increases. And also not only this, but also जो हमारी rough endoplasmic reticulum है, rough endoplasmic reticulum में जो वो है, they can also take out calcium from the endoplasmic reticulum. So now once the inositol triphosphate forms in response to hormone action, then this inositol triphosphate क्या कर लेता है, they releases the calcium from the mitochondria and as well as from the what you call it, the endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum से निकालेगा and also mitochondria से. So in this way, the calcium level inside the cell increases, and further, this increased calcium level will, is responsible for to act as a. Of course, they are also second messenger. They also act as a second messenger there, and the further activities in the cell is carried out by these high level of the calcium. Now, similarly, this diacylglycerol portion, they will, क्या करेगा? They will convert the inactive protein kinase, inactive protein kinases को active protein kinase में convert कर लेता है. And then they are more, these protein are phosphorylated, and then the cell action is produced. Further cell, these new. So now in this way, क्या कर लेता है कि once the hormone comes and then they increase the converts the phosphatidyl inositol biphosphate को inositol triphosphate में and diacylglycerol convert करेगा, and then this diacylglycerol converts the inactive protein kinase into active protein kinase, and intracellularly many steps are there. With each step, the next step increases the products which is produced in the next step. Many times increases with each step. First step, second step, third step. The activity enhances. That's why, see, only few molecules of the hormone which comes there can prove a lot of function inside the cell. So this is the reason that why all these things happening there, because with each step phosphate of reaction takes place there and increases with each step the activity increases, and ultimately the protein, phosphorylated protein, once they form there, they create out the functions inside this thing. This is, as far as I told you, they are all come under the what do you call it, the